All right, all right. So, welcome everybody to the Pitchlight Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. I am here with Rob, and StreamYard is having some serious technical issues because there is no way that 2 days in a row we are that dysfunctional. But the only thing
Maybe
that
we
is
are.
dysfunctional, no, the only thing that is dysfunctional, no, we're very well organized. Everybody knows that. But it's one of those. The only thing that is dysfunctional is this goddamn team and the ineptitude and the lack of wanting to play with a little bit of pride has significantly taken a back seat this season. Rob, when you look at the way that this weekend went, what's the first thing that goes to your mind?
Um, how Clay Holmes was able to pitch to Bell after he gave up 2 hits in the first 3 batters, and I can't. I mean, you can finger point, be like Boone's so bad, Boone this, Boone that, and that's exactly what I'm going to do because how do you not know when your guy doesn't have it? You've had Clay Holmes now for over 2 years, or just about 2 years, and you know that when he's on, you can't touch him. But when he has that slight bit of struggle, he's not going to find his way out of it. And the fact that they let him face Bell after giving up the double, and then he gave up a single, and then Bell before that, then he walks Chisholm. So the bases are already loaded. Why wasn't he taken out there? And this is part of the issue I have with the day before where they went with King as an opener because King would have been the guy to come in and clean up that mess because we've seen him do that. And it was another situation where the Yankees are trying to be smarter than everybody. And I hate when they do that because you're messing around with things that don't need to be messed around with. Why couldn't Brito have started that game? And if King has to throw an inning later in that game, he could have still been available yesterday. But the fact that he threw 2 innings the day before, you knew you weren't going to see him in game 3. I don't know why they have to use one of our best relief pitchers as an opener when we already used Hamilton 2 days in a row. So you're shorthanding your bullpen because you're expecting to get bulk from Brito in game 2. But what if he didn't? And then your bullpen would have even more taxed than it already is. But the fact that we let Clay Holmes blow that, like once he gave up the walk to Chisholm, he should have been out of that game because he had already faced 3 batters. Chisholm was his 4th, and you should have went to Canely. You should have went to Loizaga. It was clear that Holmes didn't have it, but they let him face Arias, and this is even after the error. They let him face Arias, and I'm thinking, like, what? How are we doing this? How are we letting him just blow this game? And you see Aaron Boone just kind of look dumbfounded in the dugout, like, but that was your decision. This is where you got to be the manager. But like, you're not doing it. You got to take him out of the game. And that's a series that we should have won. We should be 4 games over 500, 4 games out of a playoff spot. We could have gained a game on Seattle. We could have had a little momentum going into Atlanta, which I don't think we're going to be able to beat them, but maybe we take 1, maybe even we take 2, who knows? But you allowed your team to just lose all this confidence. You could have left Miami, a good team, 2 wins on the road where the offense scored 9 and 7 runs in your victories. And the only pitcher that shut you down was a Cy Young winner in Alcantara. There's no shame in that. You could have been feeling good. Instead, now we're feeling even more down than we already are. And that proverbial nail, the final nail in the coffin, is basically almost hammered in because the season, I don't know how you come back from this, especially with the teams we have coming up.
No, it's really, and I think that you agree. You know, you mentioned it. You know, I feel very strongly about it. That game was on Holmes and Boone. It's, Holmes, and he's been so much better. So it's not like we can say that we've been seeing this all year, but he does have these hiccups where he just completely falls off the mat. And Boone is that shitty of a manager that he doesn't see it. He should have never faced a 4th batter. As soon as he screwed up, that throw over to first, you should have dragged him by the back of his jersey and says, "Get the fuck off of this field. We cannot lose this game, especially with Cole as a starter. You cannot lose those games that he goes out there and gives, adds to his Cy Young season. You can't fuck it up that bad. You had a 7-1 lead in Miami, and this team, this manager, this bull, they found a way to fucking throw it away. And it's getting really fucking aggravating. Yeah. Because it's almost like, they're like Oprah. You get a win. You get a win. And they're throwing these wins away to all these teams that don't even deserve it. What, just because they showed up, you're going to give them the game? It's just bullshit. I'm so fucking tired of it. Here we had a chance to, we're going, believe me, these next 3 games, don't expect to even put a fucking run up. Don't expect shit against Atlanta, right? We might actually have a worse game against Atlanta than the fucking Mets had the other day when they lost 21-3. The Yankees could easily have a game like that. It's that fucking bad. I can't wrap my head around how inept this team is and how dysfunctional this team is. It's just, and the dysfunction is not in the clubhouse. It's not that they're all, they can't stand each other. Believe me, they're not dysfunctional on the White Sox level. They're dysfunctional to the point, to the level that they don't know how to close out games. They, if the dysfunction is when the offense is clicking, the bullpen falls apart. When the pitching is on point, the offense can't scratch a run. They are not the offense and the defense are not working in cohesion. It's either one's going to do when one does good, one does bad, and it's always on the same game. That's not how. That's why I tweeted it, X'd it, whatever the fuck you want to call it now. That's why I said the Yankees are officially a bottom feeder team. We are the bottom feeder. We're the teams that everybody's going to want to face to increase their chances of making the postseason. That's where we are right now, and and I don't think there's anybody that'll argue against me on that.
No, they're a get right team. That's who we are. And you mentioned Cole, and I didn't even bring him up when I was talking a few minutes ago. Like, how do you waste another solid Garrett? He wasn't his best yesterday, but yet his even him at like 75% of what he usually does is good enough to win you a game. Like, he increased his Cy Young chances with yesterday's performance, and he wasn't even at his best. And you're wasting a Cy Young season. When was the last time the Yankees had a Cy Young winner? I can't think of it. I don't think I can't remember the last time the Yankees had a Cy Young winner. And yeah, we're the bad news Bears. We're the bad news Yankees. We're the bad news everything. They're poorly managed. They're poorly run. The fact that we continue to try this opener crap, despite that we called up 2 starting pitchers and we used an opener for both of them. We used 2 starters as bulk pitchers. I get why they did it with Vasquez because he hadn't pitched in 10 days, so you get him a little more work in the bullpen. That's fine. But why wasn't Brito allowed to start game 2? He's been really good outside of like those 2 horrendous starts against Minnesota. He's been fine. And yet you don't want to start him, but you need to stretch out Michael King in August. You want to stretch him out as a potential starter when he's already proven to you he's a much better bullpen piece. But no, let's job a Chamberlain him and let's just screw him up even more. And we're not going to start Johnny Brito, but we're going to start Severino again. Is it tomorrow or Wednesday? They're starting him again.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. How much more dysfunction can we possibly have on this team? How do you not know that Severino is cooked? I hate it. I hate the fact that it's the truth because I've always said how much I like him since we picked him up way back in the day when he made his debut. I have his shirt. I wanted to get his jersey. I didn't want to spend the money on it because I have too many, but whatever. I love Sevy. He was supposed to be the next big thing out of the Yankees pitchers, and he could have been one of the best to ever put on the pinstripes, but injury slowed him down. He is cooked. He's absolutely cooked. You can't use him, and we continue to throw him out there. Oh, let's use an opener for him, and then what did he do? Give up 3 runs immediately. The game's over. Now you're going to start him against the Braves? What do you think he's going to do? I'll be shocked if he gives up less than 5 runs. If he goes 5 innings and gives up 4 runs against the Braves, I will probably go play the lottery for the first time in my life because I will know that something is in the air. I don't know how they continue to do that, but they won't start Johnny Brito because they need to use an opener. For some reason, Michael King has to be stretched out now. Not in April, not in the spring. Now he needs to be stretched out. But you won't give Brito a shot. Roll with the rotation you have the rest of the way. You're going to get Rodon back. Cole, Rodon, who should be better. He needs to be better. They're paying him to be better. Schmidt, Vasquez, Brito. That's your rotation the rest of the way through. There's no need to stretch out Michael King. There's no need to turn a relief pitcher into a starting pitcher. It doesn't need to happen. Just why are we trying to do things now instead of, and Bobby Tats has left me, and I'm back by myself again. So as I was saying on my rant there, why are the Yankees doing these things that they're trying to be smarter than everybody in the room when we know they're not? We know the Yankees are not very smart. We know they're a poorly ran organization. And now that I finally have access to the comments, the other day I could not get comments to show up. I don't know what was going on. Bobby Tats mentioned StreamYard's been a disaster the last couple of days, but I am going to get some comments up here. Let's see if it finally works. Hey, it does work. All right. NFV, yes, Holmes sucked. Boone has seen enough of him to know when he doesn't have it and should pull him. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Joan, you're absolutely right. You need to know when things are going wrong. And you need to know when your pitcher doesn't have it. Clearly, Clay Holmes did not have it. You got to take him out. And yeah, Jonathan says here the Yankees can't win with Boone. They can't. I think they've clearly proven that. I don't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say. But guys, keep your comments going out here because by myself right now. I don't know where Bobby Tats went. And here he's coming back. Bobby Tats has returned.
I'm sending a fucking letter to StreamYard. They are fucking up the stream for our friends. And it's getting on my fucking nerves.
Well, welcome back, Tats.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, well, you're welcome back. And now he's on the phone. But Damien here says, set it Friday, call up the kids, sit Judge. And unfortunately, this might be the Yankees at least until 2025. I would like to think that you're wrong on that last part, Damien, but you're absolutely right about the first part. They need to get the kids up here. Look, Jake Bauers struck out 5 times in the leadoff spot yesterday. He's done fine for what he is in his role, but the fact that we have to wait until the 18th to manipulate service time, like get Wells up here, get Pereira up here, get Peraza up here. When he's healthy, get Florial. Let's see what we have because that can give you reason to want to watch, even if we're not making a playoff push. And I want to get your opinion on this, Tats, because you weren't with us Friday. Why? What can it hurt? How much worse can it get if we just call up those 4 players, roll with the 2 young kids in the rotation, and let's see what we have? Because you can learn so much more about your team in 2024 if you do that now instead of waiting and trying to still continue to make this playoff push with this mediocre roster.
Well, first off, with Friday, shout out to all our friends in the chat. You know, Damien, Spencer, Jonathan, Mazda, who else got D-Rod, especially.
Sunil and D-Rod, yep.
You guys all, you jumped in, you helped us out, and let me tell you, I truly appreciated that. But here's the problem, right? Because you had fans like Spencer that are like, they're still mathematically in it, so there's still that wild chance that another team falls apart while we pick it up, and that's a respectable take on it. But what about those? There's no sign from that team that they'll fall apart, and there's no sign from the Yankees that they're going to be able to figure it out. So at this point, fuck it, fuck the service time. Just bring these kids up. Just let them play, right? And quick little plug. Don't forget, tonight at midnight will be the first Pinstripes After Dark. And I'm going to be putting out there what I think my lineup should be for the month of September, win, lose, or draw. So I'm going to be putting that together. So tune in for that. So, but no, I think it's done. Just call them up, see what you have. And, it's not like you're bringing up these kids and you're going to have to pay them millions of dollars, right? So it's not like it's going to be a huge financial strain. Just bench the veterans. I'm done. I've had it. They're doing nothing. Shut Judge down. Give him the surgery on his toe, and just don't wait until spring training to see what you have. Because if you're waiting till spring training, that means you're gonna fuck up the off season where there are so many issues that we need to address.
Yeah, and I want to get to this here from Joe. I'm so glad the comments are working again because I don't know what the heck was going on the other day with that, but I couldn't get the comments to show up. But now they're finally working. And Jones says, "Put DJ on the IL. Doesn't seem like he's going to play." Yeah, like he's been out for 3 days, and now they say, what did they say the other day? Oh, I think he's going to play tonight. How many times have we heard that? And then they put the guy on the IL the next day. Like, I mean, hopefully he does play. That'd be nice and all, but I don't know. I got no hope for DJ at this point. Just sit him. Sit all these guys that don't need to be playing. And Donald, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It was my turn.
What's happening?
I'm on my phone now.
You're on
Kicked
your
him
phone?
out, too.
What's happening, Tats?
StreamYard's about as reliable as the Yankees.
But no, it's you know what I think this is? I think Hal hired a hacker and he's trying to shut us down because he doesn't want to hear what we have to say.
Maybe. Donald, what is your whole take about the debacle yesterday?
Well, you know how I feel about Clay Holmes. I've always felt that he's got a disaster in him. I always felt that. He's not someone that you can rely on. He's had a decent year, but you can't trust him. And when he melts down, he doesn't find a way of stopping. It's like snowballs with him. Continues to snowball. And a smart manager should pick up on that. A smart manager should be like, we need to have somebody ready in case things are going wrong. And the Yankees are not in position to just sit back and go, hey, let's see what Clay Holmes got. You know, every win matters if the Yankees want to get back in this wild card race, which they're not. They're done. But this loss has cemented it. Like, I don't see any way back for the Yankees now. They're 2 games out and at the bottom of the AL East. They're done. They're completely done. But Aaron Boone screwed this game. I don't know why Garrett Cole only gets 6 innings. I would always push him for that 7th. I don't care. I want Garrett Cole to pitch 7 innings. I don't understand when you've got a decent lead why you don't trust your starter to get outs, because then that would have saved some arms, you know. And Clay Holmes, you know, he's got this in him. He's a disaster waiting to happen, and it's happened. I mean, this Yankee team is such a mess. It's unbelievable the mess that this roster's in. It's unbelievable. I just can't even get my mind around how much of a disaster this organization is in right now.
You're right. And I think it was kind of fitting that yesterday was like the 7-year anniversary of the day that Judge and Austin got called up. They hit the back-to-back homers, and everyone was like, hey, we probably won't make the playoffs this year, but we got something to look forward to. And I think that's so important because we all want the same thing now. We all want Pereira. We want Peraza. We want Wells. We want whoever that might contribute to this team next year, because even though they're not mathematically eliminated and anything can change, I get that. But it was mentioned in the comments earlier, they got to jump multiple teams. So many teams have to collapse while we have to catch up a hot streak that we haven't caught. What's up to Jigga Man in the comments? We haven't caught fire all season. Not once we haven't caught fire. So now we got to catch fire at the perfect time and hope that 3 other teams just fall flat on their face. Seattle sold off pieces, got hot. Boston has been the same team kind of all the way through. They're hovering around 500. They're playing well. They're not playing well. But we have not had a hot streak at all. And I don't think we got to magically believe one's coming. Give us something to at least want to look forward to. Get the kids up here. Give me a lineup with Peraza, Pereira, and Wells in the same lineup, and even Florial. Give me a rotation that has both Vasquez and Brito starting every day or every twice a week, whatever, and not have to use an opener for because you got to stretch Michael King out. Stop trying to be smarter than everybody when it's clear as day you're not, because you're 2 games over 500. You're last place in your division, and you had World Series expectations this year. You call yourself a championship caliber operation, yet you're operating like a goddamn minor league team that doesn't even belong. This is ridiculous. And they're still going to continue to say, well, we're not out of it. It's right in front of us. We're going to turn the corner, turn the page, blah, blah, blah. It's not right in front of you. It hasn't been right in front of you. You don't control your own destiny. You haven't controlled your own destiny since May, and you fell flat on your face. So can we just stop with this nonsense? Admit defeat. I know they don't want to do it, but they should have done it at the deadline. They missed that opportunity. Now you can do it. Get the kids up here. Learn what you can in 2024 because you know certain guys won't be here next year. There's no need to keep playing them. You can't get worse than what you're getting right now. You can't. It's impossible to get worse than what this team is right now.
No, and some of the players that we were on the verge of getting rid of that we didn't want to see anymore, like Joan points out, they could have made moves, and then NFE counters with my point. The rumor is, and they'll never admit one way or the other, that Hal's the one that put the stop on all these trades. Severino would have been in Arizona by now. But no, our owner, who can't figure out why we're so pissed off, doesn't know, pretty much blame, all the over expectations on us, not themselves, for setting the bar for all those years. Let's ignore all of that. Let's just, we don't need a left fielder. Nah. We don't need a legitimate everyday closer. Nah, we got to, with the bullpen we have, we could just play, just play roulette, and whatever name it comes on, that's where you go. It's just ridiculous. There's no, like I said, when you have no plan, you have no hope. And this is the result of that.
More like Russian roulette with this bull. It ain't like a regular game of roulette. You're playing with a bullet when trying to get this bullpen any day of the week. You don't know what you're going to get at this point, and it's not their fault. It's the way the Yankees used them because we have a really good bullpen. We have guys we have about 4 different guys that can be a closer. Holmes has the stuff, but he's not consistent. King certainly has the stuff. Loizaga does, and so does Canely. But it's Russian roulette with this bullpen and the way it's used, man. It's Russian roulette with every game because of the way this team is managed, the way it's ran. And we've been saying it. We'll say until we're blue in the face, until things are changed. We know the GM ain't going anywhere, but get rid of the analytics team. Get rid of them. Get a whole new team out there. You don't need 30 people that don't know what they're doing. Make that team as small as possible. Get rid of Fishman. Change up the staff. Cashman's not going anywhere, but give Sabian more of a role. Let these guys do their jobs, and maybe things will be different. But I hate saying it. They have to miss the playoffs and things will change or whatever. Oh, I want to see them lose. I don't want to see this team lose. I never want to see the Yankees lose. And I don't like people saying, I hope they lose out. I hope they finish under 500 because then we'll get some actual change. I don't want to see that. But what I do want to see is if this team does miss the playoffs, will Hal say what he said back in May or in June, whatever it was, and say, I got to start asking some tough questions? Because if you miss the playoffs with this team that they had going into the season, this payroll, then maybe we'll see some changes. But I don't know if it's going to happen, but there's nothing to want to watch with this team. You want to watch maybe 2 guys take at bats. That's Judge and Volpe. I don't care about anybody else swinging the bat in this. Maybe Torres too. That's it.
Here's the biggest issue. Here's the biggest issue. Who are the impact players on this roster other than Aaron Judge? Garrett Cole is one. The next one after that, what, Stanton?
No, I put Torres.
Stanton or Torres. But how much of an impact are either of them to the win column? Marginal. Okay. Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole are your guys, right? But after that, there's such a drop off. You're paying big money to Carlos Rodon, Luis Severino, nothing. Why are Billy McKinney getting all these huge number of at-bats? Why are we getting guys like Ben Rordvet to play catcher? Why do we not have a better catching system? Why do we not have actual better catchers? Why is Higashioka your best catcher? By a distance. It's scary to me because he's not an everyday catcher. So, you look at this and who are your impact players on this roster? Gleyber Torres isn't even a star. He's good. He's been our best player this year, but he's not a star. He's always that little tier below star. So, you look at our impact players on this roster, there are very few. Anthony Volpe's had an rookie year. 674 OPS is completely bad for what you're looking for. But he's played decent defense. But in general, you look at up and down this roster, it's so barren. And this is for $300 million. So Brian Cashman has completely imploded this roster. So, if you're looking for who to blame, it's him. But then we also have to look at the missteps that Hal Steinbrenner's made. And I've done a 180 on Hal Steinbrenner. I think after he took the bull by the horns and brought back Aaron Judge after Brian Cashman almost sent him to San Francisco. Once Hal kind of brought him back and then forced Cashman's hand to bring in Rodon, I thought, hey, this guy's actually maybe won the Yankees to win. And then he says, oh, we're not done. We're not done yet. Well, actually, they were done. And apparently they had payroll constraints, which stopped them from getting a left fielder. Now, that's partly on Brian Cashman for misallocating a ton of money, but it's also on Hal Steinbrenner for lying to the fans. He said they weren't done. Well, they were done. They were always done. So, and then now I'm hearing that he blocked moves that needed to be happening at the deadline. Again, that's not right. That's not right. He's more worried about the bottom line. He's more worried about bums on seats at Yankee Stadium, tourist seats. Tourists coming in and sitting down at Yankee Stadium, we want to see a team that's above 500. I don't give a frick if they're one game above 500 or what. I only care if they make the postseason and they're actually a postseason contender. Otherwise, I don't care if they're a couple games over 500. Like, what does that mean? It's such a fake stat. Oh, for 20 plus years, they've been above 500. I don't really care. If they're not good, then what does it matter, right? If they're not going to make the postseason, what does it matter, right? Doesn't matter if your 2 games above 500, 2 games below 500. If you miss the playoffs, you miss the frickin' playoffs. And they're going to miss the frickin' playoffs. And that's an embarrassment for a team like the Yankees. And that on Hal Steinbrenner could have given them a green light in order to plan for the future, which is the only sensible decision. Now, whether Brian Cashman was going to make a smart trade or not, I highly doubt, because he hasn't in a couple of years now, minimum. Brian Cashman's. I can't even think of the number of good moves he's made in the last 3 or 4 years. It's certainly in you can count in one hand at best. At best, you're maybe 1 or 2 in like 4 years, which is completely embarrassing. He's batting, he's batting worse than freaking Josh Donaldson over the last 4 years. So, like, I don't have any faith in him making the right move, but at least that's what should have happened. Because the worst thing that could have happened to the Yankees was the Yankees doing absolutely nothing at this deadline. And when we did nothing at the deadline, that said to me this team is on a downward spiral. They don't know what they want. They don't know how to get out of it. They don't want to get rid of Brian Cashman for reasons completely unknown to myself, other than the fact that it's like nepotism at this point. And, Aaron Boone's going to be thrown to the wolves probably if they finish in last place. Listen, I'm not going to cry any river for Aaron Boone. I can't stand the guy as a manager, but he's not even 50% the problem here in this organization. There's so many problems here. Starts with Mike Fishman and Brian Cashman, and now a lot of terrible, terrible player development guys that we've got, and some of the worst player development guys we've got in baseball are in that Yankee front office. I guarantee you, because we don't develop anybody. And then Brian Cashman's a complete shit show right now. And he's resting on his laurels from things that happened 20 years ago. That's why he's still here. Embarrassing. And the manager's he's just a puppet. He's a joke. Like, I don't even take him seriously. So that's the worst thing I can say about Aaron Boone is I don't take him seriously. I don't take him seriously as a person, because if he had some balls, do you think anybody with balls would allow themselves to be treated like a puppet? No. Right? Especially if someone who claims to be a baseball guy. I'm a baseball guy, man. Right. If there was someone who was a real baseball guy, man, you think he would really allow himself to be made a puppet? No, absolutely not. So I have no respect for him as a manager or a person, but I can't really put too much on him other than stupid bullpen moves, which he does on a regular basis. So,
yeah, no, it's I don't know if I fully blame the development team. I really don't.
I do.
Look at the way that some of these guys are. Look at the progression from them in the minor leagues. They play really well. It's the analytics team feeding Cashman the information on some of these players, where they'll look for the smallest fucking stat that says that they're not ready, and that's what they cling to. Look at Florial, a guy that Yeah, he had his cup of coffee in the major leagues. He was okay. He wasn't, he didn't come up like a superstar, but there was no, it's not like he really fucked it up so bad. They had no choice to send him down. They just decided that they wanted to just manipulate the roster a little bit. And now that he's actually showing that he has some type of life that he can contribute to this team, for some reason they don't want to call him up because they already won. They already wasted all his options. It's not the development of the players; it's the manipulation of when they're calling them up. That's where everything goes wrong. So I would say it's more on the analytics than the player development.
I think it's a little bit of both because, yeah, we develop our players really well in the minor leagues. It's the major league team that where they get screwed up because look at Peraza. Remember, I brought it up when he got called up again after Donaldson's second injury. That is clearly fake, but his first game, level swing, base hit. Second game, you couldn't get him out. Remember, he was drawing walks. Next game, he's got an uppercut swing all of a sudden. Never had that. Now he's got an uppercut swing. Look at it, and just the way they've done this to so many different players. And the thing with Florial is, I said it earlier in the year, he hasn't done anything with his time, but he's also had 55 at-bats. Franchy Cordero has more at-bats than him this year. Billy McKinney has more at-bats. Calhoun had more at-bats. In one season, that over 3 years, Florial has had 55 at-bats. I've said it before, you're never going to learn anything about a player in 55 at-bats. Peraza, the same thing, just over 100. The two of them combined have less at-bats than Jake Bauers this year. So that's not good roster construction. That's not good player development. That is not a good way to run a team. And that is something the Yankees have been doing for far too long, is screwing with these prospects because, again, Florial was once our top prospect. He was in the futures game in 2017. Peraza was our number 3 prospect, or depending on what website you looked at, number 2. But he was a top 3 guy. And they're treating him the same way they treated Florial. They treated Clint Frazier this way. He was our top prospect after we traded for him. When Gleyber Torres got up, it was Frazier. He was the top guy. And we treated these guys legendary bat speed, but we're not going to use them. He comes up, he has a really good debut. He looks good his first few games. Send him down. We don't need him. Florial actually looked pretty good in 2021. He had one at bat in 2020, and then 2021 he looked pretty good. Send him down. Last year he was called up as a spark. Remember that? It was him and it was Cabrera. We're going to call these kids up to hopefully provide a spark. And they sent him down after like 2 games. They didn't use him, and then they sent him down. And this year, they've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to call him up to provide that spark. Instead, they've used everybody who isn't an outfielder to play the outfield. Willie Calhoun is a DH. They used him. And Bauer's the first baseman. They used him. McKinney, probably the most of the 3 that are as an actual best of the 3 that is an actual outfielder. Cordero's a DH. But you've had every opportunity, and they're going to use strikeout percentage. He strikes out a lot. He hasn't improved on it. So does Pereira. Pereira's got like a 28% strikeout percentage. Are they going to use that against him to not call him up? Your whole team strikes out. And clearly we don't care about it because Aaron Boone said, well, outside of the strikeouts, we had a pretty good game. So they don't care about strikeouts. Why aren't you letting these kids play? If you make it out on a ground ball or a strikeout, does it really matter? If Florial comes up and hits 260 with the 330 on base and his slugging is like 4 something, even if his OPS is slightly below 800, are you going to care if he strikes out? Because a 780 OPS would be like the second best on this team outside of Aaron Judge. And that's like bare minimum that we're asking him to do. Let them play. And the funny thing is, you're talking about the owner, Hal, who wants to budget everything. They're going to cost you less. They cost you nothing to call these kids up. And you're going to have Florial, who's going to be a minor league free agent. So if you want to bring him back, you got to do it. He's going to be under contract for years. Pereira, 6 years at least before he hits free agency. Same thing with Wells. Same thing with Peraza. They're under team control, and you're going to pay them pennies for possibly really good production. Doesn't that fit your narrative that we don't need a $300 million payroll? You don't. Clearly you don't. But you're going to save money by using these guys instead of bringing in these minor league signings and hoping they can catch fire. Jake Bauers has been fine for what he is, but he shouldn't be playing every day. They damn sure shouldn't be leading off. And Billy McKinney, the same thing. Shouldn't be playing every day. Greg Allen sitting on the bench playing defense in the 7th inning or later. What does that serve? You're telling me you can't call up those 5 names or 4 names that I brought up that we've all been bringing up and give them every day at bats? Why? Because we need to play DJ every day. We got it. We can't lose Billy McKinney. We can't lose Jake Bowers for nothing. We can't do it. We can't lose his bat. Why? You're not going to keep them. Maybe you keep Bowers, but I don't think you're going to keep Greg Allen. I don't think you're going to keep McKinney. Maybe you might even get rid of LeMahieu next year. LA Yankee King might get his wish, but give these kids a shot. Why hasn't Peraza been here all season? Yeah. And that's what we've been saying all fucking year. Let them play. Yeah. And they don't do it. And they wonder why we're upset. Every other team in baseball does this. The Orioles are a first-place team. They call up prospects left and right, and we're going to give this kid a shot. The Brewers, first place, they call up their prospects. The Mariners are calling up prospects, and guess where they are? A game and a half out. And yet there's us. We're still saying we're in it to win it, and we're putting out the same lineup every day that barely scores. We had a really good series overall, but it was our first good series in a while. Change it up. Give us something to want to watch the next month and a half, and maybe you do catch fire. Who knows? But at least give us something to look forward to every day when we tune in, instead of just being like, oh, here come the Yankees. Here we go again. It's Yankee time. Woo! I'd rather watch Pereira and Peraza and Florial and Wells than watch Rortvedt and McKinney and Bowers and even DJ. I don't want to see them anymore. Give me the kid. I don't want to say that. Let the kids play, and let the 2 kids in the rotation pitch every 5th day. And let's see what we have for 2024, because 2023, it's not over yet, but it's damn sure close as possible to being over. Just see what you have moving forward, and then you can assess the roster, have a whole off season to be like, what are we going to do to get better for next year? Because you can't go through a rebuild with Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole in their primes. You are wasting these 2 right now. And Garrett Cole, luckily, we can void his opt-out after next year. But if he couldn't do that, he'd be gone. And we can't afford to lose Garrett Cole. You are wasting a Cy Young season. You wasted an MVP season last year. This is egregious. This is terrible. It's not fair to those 2 players. 2 of the best players in this sport are on your roster, and you can't find a way to get to the playoffs with them. That's a huge issue.
Yeah, we're putting facts here, because let's look at it. Aaron Judge had one of the greatest seasons of all time last year. What did it get us? We got us swept in the ALCS. One of the greatest seasons of all time. So we didn't have a roster that was capable of getting to a World Series, right? Because with 1 or 2 injuries, the whole roster was shot, and we ended up sending out a bullshit lineup in the ALCS, and they got swept. Aaron Judge, greatest season, one of the greatest seasons of all time. What did we do out of it? Nothing, right? Garrett Cole is having his best season as a Yankee, right? He's having a Cy Young caliber year. Right, there's very little that you can complain about Garrett Cole here. Every 5 days, he's taking the ball. He's giving you quality outings every single time. And what has that gotten us? Last place. Yep. One of his best seasons of his career, and he's already a generational pitcher. He's having one of his best years of his career. And what's it got us? Last place in the East. That is such an indictment on this organization. If I was in this front office, I would be ashamed of myself. I would go over Garrett Cole personally and apologize that I screwed this thing up so badly that I couldn't put together any kind of representative roster that could win every 5 days. At least for him. What a freaking mess. It's such a disgrace. Wasting prime talent like that. Brian Cashman should resign. But he doesn't. He's such a freaking narcissist. He thinks he's always right all the time. But if he had any, sense of professionalism, he would look at this going, I've absolutely imploded this team to the point where Aaron Judge had one of the greatest seasons of all time, and we failed him. Garrett Cole's having one of his best seasons of his career, and I failed him too. Then he should have the balls to say I failed, and he should resign. But he won't. But he should resign, because this is all on him. But another thing, man, Hal Steinbrenner doesn't get away scot-free either, because I'm reading an article here on CBSSports.com. They've just recently got an article by Mike Axia saying how missteps by Yankees ownership, Brian Cashman, have led to the Yankees' shocking decline since 2017. So the very first thing he points out is that the CBT plans went completely awry after Game 7 of the ALCS in 2017. He says the Yankees were in an enviable position. They had an MLB roster full of young talent like Judge, Severino, Gary Sanchez, Montgomery, etc. Baseball America's second-ranked farm system at the time, and almost no money on the books, right? So that was your opportunity in 2018 to really put together a great roster, because he mentions here that Rodriguez and Tejera's contracts had expired, and CC Sabathia's big money years were long gone. The Yankees had young talent and money to spend. It was an exciting time. He says the missteps began in 2018, especially when Hal Steinbrenner ordered the Yankees to come under the $195 million competitive tax threshold. And so they actually cut their payroll by $31 million in 2018. $31 million. And so the Yankees lowered their CBT payroll by $31 million 1 year after going to the Game 7 of the ALCS, right? And he says that's something that would enrage any fan, and it creates questions about ownership's commitment to fielding the best possible team, right? And he says that the defense of the 2018 CBT plan was not particularly compelling from Cashman or Hal Steinbrenner. And then he says it also was completely pointless because that following offseason, when Bryce Harper and Manny Machado were available, that was what we were being sold, that they were going to cut the tax to get under the threshold in order to reset the balance in order to go and sign a big-time free agent in the 2018 offseason. They didn't do it. They had Bryce Harper, Manny Machado. Apparently, they didn't even look at Bryce Harper, and they didn't even make Manny Machado an offer. So one of the primary benefits of staying under the CBT is lesser penalties for signing a qualified free agent. The Yankees didn't sign one qualified free agent until Garrett Cole a couple years later. So, like, how much is that commitment from ownership? You know, we hear all this stuff. Like, and another thing, what did Hal Steinbrenner say when we signed Garrett Cole? We need to win championships, plural, right? But they didn't take on significant money after Garrett Cole. They cut corners. They didn't make significant moves. And a lot of it's on Brian Cashman, but also to Hal Steinbrenner, because he keeps asking to lower the tax threshold, stay under the budget. I mean, if the Yankees are in a position where they don't have a left fielder, surely as an owner, I would be like, you know what would I prefer? Staying under the luxury tax or actually having a left field filled so that I can compete for a championship, right? I mean, I would also not bring back Brian Cashman, who's a complete shit show, but that's another matter. But you know what? I mean, how committed is Hal Steinbrenner if, let's think about it, there's a massive vacant left field spot where no one can fill it, and you're going into the season having just invested money in Garrett Cole for 30 plus million, Aaron Judge 40 plus million, you just signed Rodon, right? Why can't you make sure that you bring in a left fielder? You know what? I don't think the Dodgers would put themselves in that position, would they? The Mets wouldn't put themselves in that. But I know the Mets are a joke, but the Mets wouldn't put themselves in that position where there's not a position they can fill because of some luxury tax. I mean, it's a weird message to send, and I don't like it. And they sent that message in 2017, and that's what that article is kind of about. Is just basically like they basically screwed themselves up ever since 2018. It's been a complete downward spiral every single year from a position where it was almost impossible to screw up, and Brian Cashman screwed it up, and Hal Steinbrenner.
No, it really goes to, you know, one of the things I was saying, you know, yesterday was, imagine you're bringing in 2017, you bring up these players, they get one game away from the World Series, and that was your peak. How embarrassing is that for an organization? And they have no clue how to dig themselves out of this hole. They're all standing with a shovel with a suit on going, have you ever used one of these before? Because we don't know how to dig ourselves out of this hole. they don't have that kind of. They don't have the mindset to do it. They're gonna just keep sitting there going, this hole's really getting big. What do we do now? And they're just gonna do the same stupid fucking bullshit in the off season. They're gonna ignore the progression of the kids. They're gonna sign some aging free agent that only has a year or two left of his career if he's not already done. And that's how they're going to plug in the hole. And it's just not going to work. It's really not. But we're out of time on the show today. But we do want to thank everybody for hanging out. I know we've been having some technical issues our last couple of shows. We really apologize for it. But we also appreciate everybody hanging out and riding it out with us. Jonathan, Mr. Barrows, FJ, LA Yankee King, retired war vet, Sunil. We got Hypebeast, Steph Finch, Anthony Garcia. We had Damien earlier, Lori, Joan, Jigga came and hung out for a little bit. Who else? Michael H. Let's go down the list here. Hypebeast, Will Starr. We see you. We want to thank everybody that was in the chat. Just remember, tonight at midnight is the debut of Pinstripes After Dark. I will be giving out what I think my lineup should be for the entire month of September with no changes at all. Come on, hang out. Give me your thoughts. Is there a player you would switch around in the lineup? And let's see if we can have a little fun with that. And
I also want to say a big shout out to my guy Rob here. He's been having to struggle with our technical difficulties at times, and Rob has been front and center. He's been carrying the show, carrying the load at times. So my big salute to him.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Could have done it without the people in the chat there. And I see Warren. Warren is in there. He just popped in here towards the end. I was not intentionally ignoring comments the other day. I did not mean it was a StreamYard issue. I couldn't bring up anything. Things were going really poorly on Friday, so I do apologize. I did see your comment right as I clicked end broadcast, but I do want to apologize for that. I don't know what the hell is going on with this website, but it seems to be working a little bit better right now, thankfully. Hopefully it gets better, and hopefully the Yankees get better, which someone said it earlier in the chat. We have more confidence in StreamYard than we do the Yankees. And I think that's pretty interesting.
That's not facts.
But listen, we appreciate you all. We'll see you back Wednesday, 10 a.m., right here with the three of us. And as always, wear your pinstripes your pride and play hard.
Play harder than the Yankees do.